Today, we will discuss 10 positive stories from World War II. Number 10, Hitler's brother-in-law. Not everyone will give into the stigmata with which they were born. This was definitely the case with William Patrick Stuart Houston, who was born 1911 as Wilhelm Hitler. His father was the brother of the Third Reich leader, Alois Hitler Jr. William was born in England, later moved to Germany, and finally immigrated to the United States, where he enlisted to fight the Nazis as a Navy soldier. He died in 1987. Number 9. Stanislava Leschnitzka. Considered by many to be the servant of God, that is, the person who was subject to the beatification process, was described in one of the articles as the only hope of pregnant women in Auschwitz. This midwife found herself in the camp of Auschwitz in April 1943 and kept records of a harrowing story. She often opposed the orders of the camp authorities and helped to bring children into the world. It is estimated that during her service, she helped deliver around 3,000 children. She remained in office until the liberation of Auschwitz by Russians in 1945. Stanislava Leschnitzka died of cancer in 1974 in Łódź, Poland, and today she's considered a patron saint of the city of Łódź. Number 8. The brave nurse. Another heroic woman on our list is the American nurse Eliza Ott. Ott would be part of the first ever intercontinental air evacuation. She was assigned the flight within only 24 hours' notice, had zero air evacuation training, and had never flown a plane before. Yet on January 17, 1943, Ott served as an in-flight nurse for 5 soldiers during a week-long venture, a trip that previously could have only been accomplished by ship that would have otherwise taken 3 months. The flight was a success, and Ott helped transport wounded soldiers from Karachi all the way to the Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C. 2 months after her flight, Ott was awarded the first air medal presented to a woman in U.S. history. Number 7. The Paris Mosque. In the difficult times of war, the example of the Paris Mosque shows that even potentially hostile groups can unite. After the Nazi invasion of France in 1940, the local Jewish population was in grave danger. Amazingly, they received help from the founder of the Paris Mosque. This hero was born in Algeria alongside many French Jews. Because of their common origin, he decided to help his fellow man by giving them false Muslim identities. One of the survivors even went on to make a huge career as a singer in France and Morocco after the war. Number 6. Forgiveness after years. British officer Eric Lomax was caught in Singapore in 1942. He was then questioned by Japanese forces. In particular, he was remembered by one Japanese officer, who, although never tortured Lomax physically, threatened to kill him during the endless interrogation sessions. After the war, Lomax promised himself that he would return to kill that man when the opportunity was possible. This almost happened in Thailand in 1989, but when the two men came face to face, the British man offered forgiveness. Later, he said that at some point, hatred must stop. Number 5. Ready for suicide, or as the Japanese call it, seppuku. 2 exceptional events took place in Brookings, Oregon. First, it is the only place where the American inland was successfully bombed during the Second World War. Second, the Japanese pilot who did the bombing was invited back for an anniversary event. Fearful for the worst, the soldier took a 400-year-old sword to commit ritual suicide with if the Americans demanded it. When an incredible, unexpected turn took place, the Americans forgave the pilot. As a return gesture, the pilot was so touched that he offered the locals his traditional sword. Since then, the former pilot has acted as a promoter of American-Japanese friendship, and shortly before his death, he had become an honorary citizen of the town. Number 4. The uninvited dog. Judy the dog played a significant role in saving the lives of prisoners of war. She helped them by searching for additional food or chasing away guards to stop beatings. Her master, Frank Williams Pilot, saved the dog from certain death at the hands of the camp crew when he registered the dog itself as a prisoner of war. Towards the end of her POW career, the dog was on a ship transporting prisoners to another camp when it was hit by a torpedo. Judy showed the heroism she's so famous for by escorting drowning prisoners to larger floating pieces of debris. After the war, the dog settled with Mr. Williams and was awarded a medal. Number 3. Human instinct. During war, it's really difficult to keep one's humanity. However, one Japanese pilot who patrolled the airspace over Java in 1942 managed to do so. He noticed a civilian plane that he initially wanted to shoot down, but he focused on the faces of the women and children traveling within it, including someone who reminded him of his own teacher. The soldier decided not to pull the trigger, saving the plane and all of its passengers. He later lied to his superiors that the American pilot simply escaped him. Number 2. Christmas Eve dinner with Nazis and Americans. One of Hitler's last offenses, which began on December the 6th, 1944, put some of the final Nazi units against the Allies. It was cold and there was a lack of food, so 3 injured American soldiers knocked on the door of a woman who lived alone with her 12-year-old son. Regardless of the consequences, as aid to the Allies was considered by the Germans to be one of the greatest betrayals, she took them under her roof. That same evening, and on that same door, Germans knocked for the same reasons. This is how Germans and Americans ate Christmas dinner together during World War II. The world only learned about this unique event thanks to the son of the heroic host, who in 1995 found one of the soldiers he had hosted so many years earlier. And number 1, the Fearless Queen. The heroes of war were also great personalities, such as the British Queen, then Princess Elizabeth. After World War II broke out, she begged her father for months to let her do something for the country, ultimately serving the military in London, where she took a course in car mechanics and obtained a driver's license for the trucks that she would later drive. Elizabeth II is currently the only head of state in the world who served during the Second World War. That's it for today's episode of Exit 10. Hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, and smash the bell.